Wanted to tell the story when he was about 5 years old. He came to me and he said that when he grew up, he wanted to marry me. And I told him, no, you can't marry me, I'm your sister.
He fought for his life before he was born. He was a premature baby, and we had to wait like almost 60 days before we could bring him home. We brought him home in a little laundry basket.
He was so upset, he got so sad and cried because he couldn't understand why that couldn't happen. And I tried to explain to him that you just can't marry your sister.
Growing up, he had asthma. Mom was always worried about him, you know, that he'd get a cold and get sick, and he grew out of that.
He went to my mom and, you know, he was crying, and my mom had asked him what was wrong, and he said, when I grow up, I want to marry Jeannie. And she said, no, that I can't do that.
He had two older brothers that were athletes, and growing up in my house as a kid was pretty tough with my dad.
My mom said the same thing, and he just kept crying. And so I told him that one day he was going to meet somebody. He was going to meet a girl, another girl, and marry her. My
little brother, he had all his own. And what a tremendous athlete, you know, and it was pretty hard for my brother Michael and myself to go root for him at Norwalk High School where he wrestled, because that was our arch enemy.
He picked the perfect one. He picked Karen. So, yeah, so it's a neat memory.
One story I always like is when he got his first car. You know, his dad, Angelo, we all went to this one person's house out there on Studebaker and Excelsior. It was an old couple. They were selling a car, and that's where Julio got his Bonneville.
We went to La Mirada Regional, and there were ducks in the pond. And Julio went in on one side, and I went in on the other, and we were trying to catch a duck.
The father said, son, I'm buying you this car. And Julio was really happy. The father says, don't worry, old people. My son is going to take care of the car. He knows what to do. He's really responsible. Right, son? Yes, Dad. You're going to take care of it, right? Yes, Dad. You're sure? Yes, Dad. Here's the keys.
We were both quacking, quack, 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 and Julio just kept going, and every once in a while he'd go quack, 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 and all of a sudden the duck just disappeared underwater.
As soon as he starts up the car, revs it up, spins the wheels, goes down the street to where you can make a U-turn, spins a donut over there, and goes flying down the street at about 100 miles per hour.
He grabbed the duck by its legs and jerked it out, and he caught the duck.
Later on that day, he says, come on, Martin, let's go on a ride. I said, okay, where are we going? To Norwalk High, to the football field. And there we go, the gates are open, and I said, what are we going to go do? Spin donuts in the football field.
He had the duck for a while. He took it to the Duncan's house, and the bad part is that I think their dog killed the duck.
It was the second round of CIF playoffs my senior year, and Brittany was cheerleading, so Julio was always at our games. And I got pulled the second quarter because I just wasn't the guy for the job for that game, and I was super bummed out. And we were walking to the bus, and Julio was walking next to me, and I could not shake off the fact that I got pulled.
I had sent Julio balloons that were like smiley faces, and I said, I love you. But it just didn't seem like enough to me. It felt like I had to do something more.
And Julio put into perspective that just because you're not the best guy today doesn't mean you can't be the best guy tomorrow. So you need to go back to practice on Monday, work on whatever you need to work on and get better, and then next week you'll be in your starting spot again.
I got a wild idea, since he's a fan of the LA Kings, that if I called my uncle in Los Angeles, maybe he could hook me up with the LA Kings team.
And that really sunk in with me because I never really looked at it from that side before. I never really looked at it, the perspective as, you know, just because you're not the best doesn't mean you can't be the best.
My best memory of Julio is recent, when the LA Kings were in the playoffs. My husband is also a LA Kings fan, and we met up with them at a pizza parlor down the street from both of us.
We got something even better. We got Bailey the mascot. So the mascot was able to go see Julio in the hospital.
We just spent the day watching the game, eating pizza, having beers, laughing and having a good old time.
It made him cry, but it also put a smile on his face, and that's all I wanted him to do, was just smile.
And that's how I remember Julio. Very happy, loving.
So I will hold that memory with Julio. Julio and Bailey and his smile.
We walked in, hugs from everybody, and it was a really great day.
You know, I spent a lot of time with the Torres family. You know, my parents were going through a divorce in high school, and Julio was like a second father. Man, that whole family, that whole transition in my life, if it really wasn't for the Torres house, you know, that was stability. That was the one thing in my life that always stayed the same, consistent.
Our senior year, we all group up and go to La Mirada Regional Park and go ice blocking.
And Julio was the only one that was skinny enough to climb into the ice block machine.
You know, we'd be standing there, we got to get some money to get the ice box out. No, we don't. We just send Julio up in there.
We used to shove him up in the ice box deal right there on Rosecrans and Studebaker, and he would push the ice blocks out to us.
And he would, you know, shoot down a lot of them because there was always a lot of us.
Then we'd go down to La Mirada Regional Park and slide down the hills.
He thought it was the funniest thing that he was the skinniest one that would go up there.
Yeah. So from the first time we did that, it was always Julio's job to go up and get the ice blocks for us.
Had a lot of fun times down there with Julio and Pat and everybody else.
It was a good time, good memories.
I think it was one of the Powderpuff Games when they all dressed up as girls and they were out there goofing around. And I was like, who is that guy? So he was the life of the event.
One morning, Karen had asked me to do something on her phone. So I got her phone and they had been texting back and forth.
We used to hang out and play the air guitar. Yeah, skip class, as Lori would attest, because she didn't graduate with us.
So I was on the phone and this text pops up from Julio. And I don't get embarrassed very easily, but my face was as red as my sweater right here, because I won't tell you what it says because the kids are going to watch this, but it was a little nasty.
Smoked a lot of marijuana in Julio's love boat.
Saying all that.
Yeah. In Julio's love boat.
No, yeah, we did.
Sometimes that love boat looked like up in
Cheech and
smoke.
Chong. Cheech and Chong. Yes,
there was
we did.
no air left in there but smoke.
When I told Karen that I read the video, she was appalled. And she texted Julio and she said, I can't believe that Maria just read that. And his response was, well, what the fuck? Sorry, I'm just saying it how it is. Well, what the fuck is she doing reading my text?
Oh my God.
That's it. That's how I know Julio. Awesome man.
We went to Belmont Shores and we went fishing and we caught like the shark. It was like a huge shark. I don't even know, it was like a sand shark. And I've never seen one before. And when we got home, I've never seen a man skin a shark before. And we were out front at the Woodstead house and he stood there with this knife at the front porch in the driveway and just skinned and filleted this shark thing. It was impressive. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty impressive. And those are the little things that I always remember. Man, he was a good guy.